Good day, YouTube. Today is autumn, and I think the third day of autumn. I think a friend of mine on YouTube wrote asking a very personal question. And I hope the volume issue has been cleared up. If it's still too low, let me know. It was brought to my attention that no one could hear me speak when I was, giving my vlogs. So I realized that I hadn't, rejiggered my new Mac to be more receptive to the sound of my voice. So I hope I fixed it. A friend on Facebook asked me how I knew that the Morrighan had called me, and that's a very personal question, and it's one that I don't personally mind asking. However, it's one that I've seen a lot of witches, a lot of pagans refrain from wanting to answer over the years, because I'm just naturally curious sort. I blame my rising Scorpio for that. But I've asked other priests and priestesses of the Morrigan, how they know that they were chosen, and they really clam up. They really don't like talking about it. But I will divulge my experiences because I have before, but I wanted to give this question a little more depth and breadth. My first bit of advice, though, would be to pay attention to your dreams and especially to any synchronicities that you may see. Now, a synchronicity, according to physicists, is a situation that occurs that doesn't seem to be the result of chance alone. That could be, seeing something multiple times, in relation to something else that seems utterly profound. I know that's a really horrible connotation, but the book that has a better definition in it is downstairs somewhere, and I am not about to fetch it out because my library is a mess. But yeah, I was chosen by the Morrigan to serve her back in 2002. It was Now at that time I had read multiple books and scholarly articles on Celtic studies and Celtic paganism. And the list of books and articles that I've read is as long as I am tall, and I'm fairly tall. So I had a pretty good understanding of Celtic paganism then. It's only grown more profound now, but it began on the eve of Lunasaw. Um, I was I had just let my dog outside to go to the bathroom, and I had let her in, but I decided to stay outside and take in the warm night August air. Well, no, it wasn't quite August yet. It was July 31st, I think. It was the last day in July because the next day was August 1st, Lunasa or Lamas. And I was sitting outside just watching the world go by, and all of a sudden, some farmers off in the distance started letting off some fireworks. Now, this is Iowa, and you're not really supposed to do that, especially outside of the holidays. You have to have a permit to do so. I had often wondered if the farmers knew that they were at the onset of an ancient holiday of the harvest. Whether or not they did, I don't know. I watched the fireworks for a while, and I felt really blessed to take in that show, even though it was just spontaneous, just just happenstance. I still felt blessed anyway. I knew that the Celts calculated their reckoning of time by by the evening rather than the day. So the evening before a festival was really considered the beginning of the festival itself. So therefore, the last day in July was really the beginning of Lunasa, even before daybreak. So I went to bed that night, and I actually had a vision of the goddess. It was filled with crows and the goddess standing there. At first, I was because I'm very rationally minded. I would have normally dismissed it just as a dream, but the goddess, I'm sure, knowing that am more rationally minded, she came to me again this day on the eve of the mess, which would have been, sort of a 3 day period. And I actually awoke from that vision, speaking her name. It was, like Mahabab, Morrighan, things of that nature. Of course, she was known by many other names, including Anan or Anu, the Earth Mother goddess. But I awoke from that vision, and I decided to research her a lot more in depthly from that point on. And I decided that she had been calling me to serve her. In fact, it seems as though every time I buy a new item for my altar to the goddess, she greets me in the form of a crow. Um, when I bought my first deck of tarot cards, this is the Ancient Italian Tarot. It is my standby, the one that I use most often, especially during the autumn festival and during Samhain, because of that. But I had ordered them from Barnes and Noble because Borders is no more, which really really sucks because they had much better prices than Barnes and Noble did, and the quality of their selection was much better. I mean, whoever the book buyer was for Borders, they knew what they were doing. But I digress. When I pulled up into the driveway, there was actually a crow right over the entrance of the door, cawing at me when I entered to go pick up my new tarot deck. And while I was there, I even um, made an acquaintance of a new witch who was working behind the cash register at the time. And I've never seen her since or before, but I honor her. But it was while I was walking back out of the bookstore that I saw a crow, actually two crows, actually, because generally, because she's a triple goddess, crows often congregate around me in multiples of three. There were actually two crows sitting right above where where the car had been parked, because it was under a light pole, and right above it were two big beautiful crows, the size of chickens. Last Samhain, I bought this. A few years beforehand, I had actually bought a pallet of them for an ancestor altar that I had wanted. And if anyone sees any more of these this year for Samhain, let me know because I want more for my ancestor shrine. Was the only one I bought from the home goods store, because they were crazy expensive there, much more than they had been when I had bought them at it was either CVS or one of the other pharmacies. Back when they actually had good Halloween stuff, it seems as though stores are really kind of phoning it in now, which really bums me out during the Halloween shopping season. But yeah, I only bought one because one was all that I could afford because they were rather expensive. I had actually gone there after Samhain, hoping to take part in a really good post Halloween discount. Unfortunately, they didn't have any more left in the store. Either they had all been bought, or they had maybe sent them back to corporate or whatever. I don't know. Sometimes I do notice that happens sometimes. That an item isn't there during the sale. It's um, done away with somehow, which is unfortunate because sometimes I do go back, hoping to get a really big item that I'd wanted that was awfully expensive beforehand. Anyway, I'm totally digressing, but after I had bought this, I literally turned the corner and there was a crow sitting there as though it had just been waiting for me, and it wasn't just as I had driven by, but afterward it sort of flew off. I took that as a definite message. I also saw crows when I bought these. These are crowns, and you might think it's very odd to associate crowns with the Morrighan, and because of the glass they're made of, it's sort of faux mercury glass. They have a very bronze-like appearance, but the Morrighan is actually a Celtic goddess of sovereignty. It was through her that the chieftain of the community was able to ascend the throne. Without her, he had no right to rule. She was also the personification of the land itself. After I bought these from Michael's, I saw other crows, and in fact, this year when I bought this from Michael's, which I'm using as an offering vessel, as well as this. This is a new bottle for my protection potion that I will be blending later on this week. When I walked out of the store, what did I see but three crows as large as chickens right in front of the doorway that just ignored me like I wasn't even there. And then when I sort of passed through, they just sort of flew away. It was really, I hate to use these words, but it was really a magical experience. Very profound, very personal. And I do take it to heart whenever I encounter the goddess in such a profound fashion. So I hope this vlog has answered your question. Really pay attention to synchronicities as well as your dreams. This advice was actually given to me by a high priestess I know from England while I was being chosen, if you will, for my my first familiar, which was snake, because of a vision that I had with snake. I mean, just a full blown vision, which if it hadn't happened to me, I would not have believed it. Followed by the fact that every time I opened a magazine or a book at random or flipped on the TV at random, I saw snakes everywhere. I walked into stores, I saw snakes. I took a walk down the street, I saw snakes darting out in front of me. The same thing occurred even when I was being courted by Owl, my second familiar. Owl would break in on my meditations. I would see owls within every book, on TV, at random places, in businesses, when shopping. Owls just lining the shelves. So really, look for synchronicities as well, because they will be important. They will be guideposts along your spiritual journey. So, until next time, my pagan brothers and sisters, keep calm and witch on. However, sixes are all about decisions. They relate to the Lovers card in the tarot, and the sort of cups relates to the arts, to theater, the arts, music, and to the occult. So it's definitely